worst part about being an undercover addict is that you can't get no help. Everybody was drinking and partying. I remember they used to have us coming out and dancing in front of everybody and stuff like that, not knowing that they was making us victims. I said, my mom dead. Oh, this place is amazing. And even though it's a cemetery where it's death, it's so much life for me. We at 249 Passaic Street in Garfield, New Jersey. This is where my story began. I was here this is my grandma's home. This was a family house. My grandmother, my aunts, we all lived here as one big family. So my life was pretty normal at this time. Had a normal life. We went to church, we ate dinner, grandma worked, we went to school. Over here is where we used to go through the cemetery to get to Two Guys. I don't know if you guys remember Two Guys, because this was in the 60s. But I was here till I was about 7 years old. Behind this house is where we had a swing set, and we had a dog. We had a really, really normal life. Very normal. We played in the backyard. We had a swing set. We had family in the whole house. Sundays was filled with all kinds of cooking, baking, and praying. We did church every Sunday. We did prayer. Every night we prayed before we went to bed, and we prayed when we got up. And my grandmother was a very praying grandmother. So we had a normal life. You know, things didn't start to change until leaving Garfield. My grandmother must have left New Jersey in 76 maybe, 75 or 76, I'm not sure. But in the 70s, my mother didn't take it too well. She was a mommy's girl. And her mother always came to the rescue. Once grandma left left Jersey to Florida, there was nobody to save her. And she didn't know how to save herself. So me, my sister, and my aunt, we were always together. My aunt always took us to the stores, took us to school. We used to laugh about her. We thought she used to lock us in here. And I see today, as an adult, that there's no gates there. But we used to scream and holler. And we enjoyed our aunt. That was our aunt. And it was always fun. It was always fun. I mean, you know, we would tell on her. She'd get in trouble. And me and my sister thought it was cute that we would get her in trouble all the time. But we were kids, and we lived a normal childhood here. And I love it here. It's sad because I can remember all the good times. It was only good times here. It was never no crying. Sometime when my aunt used to beat us up. But other than that, we had a great time. My grandmother was awesome. She took very good care of us. I remember the shoes, the Sunday church shoes we used to have to wear. We would always slide in them. We couldn't stand those church shoes. We would always slide in them, but we always had to wear church shoes on Sunday. We wore the gloves and the hats, and she was an awesome grandmother, and I miss her so much. She gave us the most normalcy that she could possibly give us, and I'm forever grateful to Grandma. For a long time, I had blocked this out until I got deep into my addiction, where I would sit there and I would remember Grandma. I could remember some of the things that she said to us, like she was talking to me at that moment. You know, I knew that God had never left me because he would always remind me of this peaceful place. He always reminded me that I didn't have to stay in that dark place where I was sitting there being abused. It breaks my heart to think about ever leaving here. I don't think it was so devastating at first. I think school made it more difficult for us. In Garfield, we was more protected. You know, my mother grew up, I guess you would say, on the rough side. You know, she was, you know, my father was from Passaic, New Jersey. So they separated us. That was devastating for us because we had never been separated. That was hard, but I also remember coming to Patterson and my mom, and you know, my mom also died from this disease. She was alcoholic, but I remember her being in fighting with her boyfriends and things of that. So the reason why I'm saying how devastating it was because I remember calling my grandma, and my grandma used to say to us, "You don't let anybody hurt your mom." But we didn't know anything about, we never seen that. And the only one we knew to call was grandma. You know, but we had to grow up real fast, real quick. But her alcoholism kicked off when my grandmother left and moved to Florida. It's like my mom gave up. She was really hurt when my when my grandmother left and moved to Florida, it was like our whole world changed. My mom didn't have the fight in her no more. She really loved her mom. It was something about her mom. That relationship destroyed my mom. She was struggling with alcoholism prior to, but once my grandmother left, all bets was off. When we moved into Alabama Projects, I think we were like 7 or 8 years old. And the thing about it is, what I'm explaining to you, we were babies, and not really treated as so, you know, because of the lifestyle. 10 years old, I remember my cousin, she wasn't my cousin by blood, but she was cousin by marriage. And I remember she had been molested. And I think we was around 10. I'm sure it was around 10. And I remember her telling us who it was, and you know, that she was getting money from this person and things of that. And we had to by 11 years old, I knew how to keep secrets. I knew that mommy couldn't provide us with the stuff that forgive me. I don't want to call anybody name. She was doing things that was older. And even though we was scared, it was exciting to us. So it was things that had happened to us, like people giving me dimes and stuff like that, and telling me that to call them when I was 18 and things like that, or touching me in certain ways that was inappropriate and made me very uncomfortable, but not uncomfortable enough to tell my mom, because I knew it was bad. And I always thought that if I told, that it was because of something that I did. Growing up in these kind of behaviors, by the time I was 11 or 12, I can keep secrets. I knew that I wasn't penetrated, but I was molested. And I knew to keep secrets. And I knew if I didn't tell, that I could get money. And I was taught that at 10. At 12 years old, my virginity was gone. And I lost my virginity to my daughter's father. And I lost my virginity because I wanted to be part of. He was older, and he had already been sexually active, and I knew this. And the only way I could fit in if I would do the same. So it wasn't long before I had the baby. At 13, the funny thing about when I got pregnant is I was surprised because my twin sister just found out that she was pregnant, and I was telling her, how stupid could you be? How stupid could you be? You don't get pregnant. You don't let people. Well, how stupid can you be? And I remember telling her, when her daughter goes to college, I'll just be having mine. I was shocked. I don't think I was embarrassed. I was more shocked. First of all, my mom told us if you have sex, you was going to get pregnant. So I had been having sex and she didn't know about it, and I had never got pregnant. So I didn't know. I was more shocked than embarrassed. But you can hear whispers. You can hear whispers when we walk by them. They pregnant. You know, and my mom, she was so hurt. She was so hurt. She was so hurt and disappointed. And again, she lost her, her mom left, and now she got twins that's pregnant at 13. And she gave up. She gave up, she didn't know, and she went to her grave not knowing that her babies had been violated, and it was due to her irresponsibility. My mom is a beautiful, oh my goodness, all my friends loved her. She was so full of life. I'm going to go back to, I'm not sure if I was pregnant, but if I wasn't pregnant, I had just had my baby. And I walked in my mother, which there was rules. There were things that's so different now. You never walked into a room without knocking. But I did that this particular day. And when I knocked on the door, my mom was sewing. So I went around her to see what she was sewing, and it was panties. And I said, "Mom, throw those things in the garbage. Why are you sewing them?" And she started crying. And she said, "This is how I take care of you. I go without." So she did her very best with whatever she had. And when I seen the panties, I started laughing. Like, why are you doing that? Until I seen the hurt in her eyes. And I didn't know we was poor. From 13, when we had the babies, I took off. I was out of control. I didn't want to be home. I was grown. Mommy couldn't tell me anything. I didn't even want the baby father anymore. I was over it. I was a grown woman at 13, and nobody could tell me anything. And me and my mom, we fought all the time. Now, my mom was still, of course, she was an alcoholic, and I remember me and the baby father fighting all the time because I would always let my mom take the baby with her. She took very good care of those babies. And that's why it's so funny now, because my mom used to have my niece and my daughter on her hip going out back to Alabama projects and stuff like that, because that's, my mom died at 34 years old. She was 34 years old. See, because I was an addict. before I picked up the drugs. And I didn't know. I didn't know. We didn't know why did we act like that? Why did we think that so much was okay? We seen so much. So much have happened to us. It was so many secrets. My mom kept secrets. We kept secrets. And they say secrets will kill you. Secrets kill Peanut. And that's my nickname. So mom died, we was 14. So because we wasn't, my aunt was trying to take care of us to the best of her ability. She was she was young, and her addiction took off as well. So we had to separate. My twin sister, she went to stay with her child's father. They lived together. I went to live with my stepsister, and my aunt went to live with a friend. So our disease, it took off very rapidly. We were doing things like we were hanging out. There was no working. There was none of that stuff. We were 14 years old. We were collecting. I think my mother had the babies on welfare, cause so we was collecting welfare. We was drinking.
School?
No school. No, school hadn't existed. For a while. At least a year. So no, there was no school. And it was normal. I remember seeing other people go to school. Even when I was in school, I didn't want to be there because also what happened to me, I had a learning disability that at that time nobody addressed it and didn't even know what, my mother just said that I was lazy. And it wasn't that I was lazy. I was not absorbing the information. I would get the information, but it wouldn't stay. But anyway, I didn't want to be. School was not for me. I was hanging with people anyway that was older that had either graduated or dropped out, and I was comfortable with them because nobody was asking me about school. Once my mother died, it was no school. We had to take care of babies, tried to keep a roof over our head, and and we did what teenagers did with babies. So it was rough. It was rough. Trying to going around making sure that we can get some money for the kids to eat. Different boyfriends and things like that. Being beat. Because that was that time. I mean, I remember having being beat by my boyfriends and my daughter's father. I remember that. I was involved and I was beat probably by every boy guy that I was with. I wore a lot of black eyes. Yeah. Even down to being with guys that I didn't want to be with for money. I didn't call it soliciting or anything like that. I knew who they were and things like that. It was just that I didn't really even like you. But I knew that I had to get diapers. So even with the beatings, I had to take care of this baby. And we did it. And I remember once my aunt I think we was 15 now. At 15, almost 16, my aunt, which is a Catholic nun, she came back into our lives. And she tried to help us, She got us back into school. She was taking us shopping, buying clothes for us. And but we were struggling with our addiction. Alcohol, it wasn't no drugs at this time, but the alcohol, it took off. And I remember one day she came all the way from Jersey City to pick us up to go to school, or pick me up to go to school. And we was in my sister's house, and we was all drunk. And she was kicking in the door. She kicked the door in. We was happy with the life that we was living at 15, 16 years old, waking up with hangovers, probably a black eye from the guys beating us up because we wanted to be with some. Yeah, we liked that. We was used to it. That was our life. That's what our life had came at 16 years old. I was done. I knew everything that probably a woman at 30 years old from the streets would know. At 16 years old, I was there. I remember my grandmother, my aunt calling me, and I don't know how we got in touch. They got in touch with me, but to tell me that my grandmother was taking my daughter to Virginia. I was happy because I don't have to worry about babysitter. She was with my grandmother, so we're great. So I think a week when I'm calling to come back home to get the baby, right? Because nobody's calling me. And my aunt says that you don't have custody of her. What that mean? She says, we took custody of her. I'm thankful for my aunt today because my daughter didn't experience my drugs, my domestic violence. She didn't experience any of that, but I lost so much time. I missed all the little flowers that the kids make at school, all the Mother's Day cards, all those hugs, because she's still, when I'm talking about this girl has such a connection to me, it was unbelievable. I don't think that I could have loved my mother like she loves me. At 25 years old, I woke up in detox. The ladies I believe I was 25. The lady woke me up and she said, "Happy birthday." And I was like, "Fuck you." So I go home and I promised this guy that tried to kill me, that if I didn't have to go to a 18-month program, I'd never use again. So I married him. Didn't last long. My addiction took off again. I felt if I didn't smoke crack, I could drink. Well, that didn't last long. I ended up smoking again, but this time I'm sneaking because I don't want everybody to know that I went through all this. I got married. I'm driving. I have a fantastic life. I got money in the bank. I'm doing some good things in my life. I didn't want anybody to know. So the thing about it is from 27 years old, I did drugs off and on, but it wasn't, I never went back to that place where I had to do anything for any money, none of that. That wasn't my story anymore. It wasn't my story. And the hardest part and the worst part about being an undercover addict is that you can't get no help. It got to the point where I was using every day. Not drugs, but alcohol, every day. For a long time, I had blocked this out until I got deep into my addiction. And there would be phases in my life where I would sit there and I would remember Grandma. I could remember some of the things that she said to us, like she was talking to me at that moment. I knew that God had never left me because he would always remind me of this peaceful place. It breaks my heart to think about ever leaving here. I had to hit my bottom. I had to hit my bottom. But when I hit my bottom, I knew that I had a place to go. I knew I had someone that had recovery in them and that they would help me. So I called my sister, my best friend. And this is my twin sister. Her name is Ruthie Clark. And she started me on this process of recovery.
So we have to help each other by staying together and doing what each other do, and we have to be there for each other in recovery center and out of the recovery center, because this thing is deeper than just this building.
I have here on my right, which is Cheryl Clark, is my sponsor. Once I came here to Eva's for recovery, and then I started making meetings with my sister.
I had the opportunity to meet this young lady, Ruby Clark, when she came into recovery. I watched her go through her process. She came in and she was doing IOP, and I was watching her, how resistant she was, you know, and real defiant. And I was like, wow. But I had to put her in her place, you know, we do as sponsors, you know. So I was and I saw something in Ruby that she didn't see in herself.
Because you know what, finally I can say that I love a woman that's, and is genuine, because for so many years I lied. I didn't like women. And she was a challenge. I have to say that. I said, she thinks she's tough. She can't break me, but you did. I love you so very much. And she, you know, no matter what, I can't intimidate her, you know, tell her leave me alone, and I got this, because I don't. And she's reminding me every day that I don't have this. I'm a learning, it's an everyday process. It's an everyday process, but I know with her and my sister that I'm good, just for today.
I want to thank you for believing in me. Yes, we have some bad days, we have some good days. I'm not a sugarcoater, because like I said, I take recovery serious. I have came from a family with plenty addicts, and when I came here, because I didn't thought I was an addict, because I had some things, right? Because I was misinformed that an addict was a man or a woman, right, that shot heroin, not because of the drugs that I've done, because I had some things. So when I came here, and me, myself, also have a sponsor that said, listen, sit your behind down and listen. So, and that's what I give my sponsee, because especially today, because I understand the disease of addiction is cunning, baffling, and insidious. I am so grateful that she's willing to learn. She fights, but she surrenders. And that's what makes it a beauty of this, you know. She challenged me on a lot of days, and every time she come for me, I come right back for her to let her know I love her, because if I want to learn how to get high, I will ask her. So just for the day, I am truly, truly grateful to be in her life. Ruby Clark, I love you.
I love you too.
And I'm rocking and rolling with you.
Thank you. 4 years ago, I found out that I never ever have to use again. And the great thing about this, that I never have to use again, guess what? I'm sharing life with my twin sister. We have a relationship today. And for 50-some years, we didn't have a relationship. We didn't even know each other. Today, I have this woman here that is guiding me in my recovery. And every day, I fight with her, and I hang up and I laugh, because only her can deal with me. And that's why God put her in my life. And I'm so very grateful to these women, because they saved my life. They helped save my life. The God of my understanding saved my life.
Thank you.
Oh, my relationship with God is so much different, because I always had a God of my grandmother's understanding. That was the God that I knew. You know, I thought that God was punishing me. You know, because God knows our secrets. So I said, oh, this is why. You know, my mom, who has a baby at 13 and their mom dies at 14? How could you take my mom? Now? You can't love me. You're mad at me. But see, once I got into recovery, and I have, not just this time, but I have found God, many years ago. And I knew he was there. And it was funny because sometimes I could see myself doing some stuff that I knew I was doing wrong. And I'm like, oh God. I was always conscious that God was watching. But this time, in recovery, I believe that God, of my understanding, knew that I needed to learn some stuff. My God, of my understanding, loved me so much. I got a relationship with my twin sister again. And I didn't mention that she got 13 years clean. I have a relationship with my family. We are so close. We're talking about 2 teenage moms that struggled through crack, cocaine, and alcohol and domestic violence. We got our family back and we so in love. And that's the God of my understanding. God said, guess what? You have a story to tell, and I need you to tell it. I need you to show somebody else that they can make it. That's the God of my understanding. Now, guess what? I have some work to do. I have to tell people that's outside about Narcotics Anonymous and about this beautiful God that I serve. I have a great relationship with God today.